Russian forces continue to shell the Donbas region. In a nightly address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said the situation there remains extremely difficult and Russian forces have gathered the maximum combat power. In Luhansk, the governor said Ukrainian forces have pushed back Russian troops in Severodonetsk and frustrated a move to encircle the last cities under Ukrainian control. Meanwhile, EU leaders have agreed on a partial oil embargo on Russia. Philip Crowther reports from Lviv.
Russian forces are now pushing into the city of Severodonetsk, one of only two that remain in Ukrainian hands in the region of Luhansk. There is now street-by-street fighting, with the mayor of that city of Severodonetsk saying that it is now lying in ruins. There appears to be a race against time for the Russian forces to advance as much as possible before there are more heavy weapons and maybe advanced rocket systems that are brought to the front line from foreign countries, largely the United States, of course. This explains why Russia has been throwing so much manpower, so much equipment, ammunition, soldiers being brought to this front line. Russia believes now is the time to make those crucial advances if it wants to have total control of the Donbas region in the east of Ukraine, that of course being the stated goal for Moscow. Today also brought very tragic news with another journalist killed while trying to cover the conflict in the Donbas region. It was Frédéric Leclerc-Imhoff, 32-year-old working for BFM TV in France, who was killed by shell shrapnel while he was filming an evacuation operation. There were tributes paid by the French President Emmanuel Macron, but also by the French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna, who was in Kiev at the time of the death of this young French journalist. Here's her reaction.
This day is unfortunately saddened by this tragedy. In fact, it is a crime because an evacuation convoy was attacked and a journalist who was doing his job was killed. There are several injured, but first of all, I would like to express my condolences to his family and his friends, but also to you, to your profession. We need the media to inform us, to let everyone know what is happening.
As a result of what happened there, with an evacuation route being shelled by Russian forces, the governor of the region of Luhansk, Sergei Haidai, decided to call off all evacuations there. Also, it's a race against time for civilians to get out of the city as quickly as possible. A city that has seen around 1,500 deaths already since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. That's according to the mayor. That's out of a total population of just over 100,000 from before the war began. Philip Crowther, Associated Press, for CGTN in Lviv, Ukraine.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says the clear priority for Russia is to push the Ukrainian army out of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions in order to, quote, liberate the people there. As to what happens to the other areas of Ukraine, he suggests that the people who live there will decide. Stuart Smith has more.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on French television he believes there are people in Ukraine who would not want to return to what he described as a neo-Nazi Russophobic regime, referring to the Ukrainian government. He also expressed skepticism about whether sanctions against Russia would be lifted even if Russia stopped what can only be described here in Moscow as its special military operation. He said that behind the scenes the US tells its allies sanctions will remain once it's all over. He believes the sanctions are designed to curb Russia's development rather than reduce Russia's ability to wage its operation. On Monday, US President Joe Biden ruled out sending missile launchers to Ukraine which could reach Russia, a step the chairman of Russia's Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, applauded as reasonable. Stuart Smith, CGTN, Moscow.
European Union leaders have agreed to cut 90% of oil imports from Russia by the end of this year, resolving an impasse over the bloc's toughest sanctions on Moscow since its military operation began. The oil embargo would include exemptions for Hungary, which relies heavily on Russian oil and had been the main obstacle to a deal, as well as for other states concerned about the economic impact. Diplomats said the agreement would clear the way for other elements of a sixth package of EU sanctions on Russia to take effect, including cutting Russia's biggest bank, Sberbank, from the SWIFT messaging system.